Okay, so welcome everyone to another Nova Scribes. Without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Sarah Spencer of 26 Letter Studio. Sarah, what have you got for us tonight?
Well, thank you so much for joining me in the Airstream for part 2 of the Hatchery. We're using Creative Business Model Canvas to develop products for your visual practice. So I am not a Phoenix native, but I've been here for 30 years, so I practically feel that way. And this whole time I have been a product developer. So some of the products that I have created in the past have been games and stickers and greeting cards. That was many years ago. I worked in the beauty industry for a while and created products for the beauty industry. And I also designed personal development tools for creating the life that you love. Currently, I am creating, among other things, culture books and coloring books for learning. And all of these products I create now with either things that I create for myself or are outcomes from meetings with my clients. And so today, I hope you will find value in this process that I've created for determining what a client might want, and then also how to do it, how to make these products and what it takes. So thank you for joining me. So I want to start out with sort of maybe something obvious, which is, what is a product? It is a thing that is a result of an action or a process. So the action can be something you do, or the process is a meeting that you are facilitating. But now think about what is it that we can make? So as visual practitioners, we make a lot of things. We make a lot of things in our practice when we're practicing just by ourselves. And we also make a lot of things for clients. And so it's sort of the cross between these two where we can really get traction in products that will increase our brand awareness and make us some money. So what are some of these things? So we create graphic recordings, we might design drawings, we might write books, like Brian has a really great book about meeting monsters. In the work that we do, we end up creating some tools that are helpful to the people in our industry. And Brian has also created a number of those. We might also create just workshops that we end up selling. That's a super great product that we can sell. Other things that we can create are card games and videos, explainer videos. A number of you who have really great handwriting could do fonts. We can create visual templates for our meetings and zines. I know Angela has done a number of zines, and those are great giveaways that are great for supporting the brand. And also we could do something as big as creating a course. So how many here have already created products that you are selling or that you are using in your business for marketing? So Angela, great. Oh, great. That's awesome, Nevada. Okay, super. Very good. Very good. All right. So what we're going to do is kind of talk about the value of products. So the kind of obvious value of products is making money. So that can be making money from, a workshop or writing a book and selling the book or something like that. But there are 5 other areas where value exists in products that are just as important as money, and in some cases more important, because in the end, these 5 other things will create revenue for you down the line. So the first thing is money. The second thing is reputation. So what it is that you make either helps or hinders your reputation. So when you're making products, it's important to consider how this adds to your reputation. So for me, I'm a product developer. So the products that I create add to the reputation that I have for making products. Partnerships. You might have a small product that you've created, and by partnering with a larger company, you might be able to get this product to more people and therefore make more money. Licensing would be an example of that. So if you have a product that you end up getting produced with a company, then you can garner royalties from that partnership. Products also create awareness. So you may create a product that doesn't make any money, doesn't necessarily add to like the reputation that you have, because like with new people, maybe you're just, you know, your reputation isn't known yet. And so what a product that is designed for awareness does is that it gets to more people, a greater number of people. So this might be something that you bring up on stage with you when you're speaking at a conference. So it could be, say it's like a book or something, or an app. You can talk about it to an audience and make an audience very aware of what you do. Now, branding is in here because branding is very important. Any product that you make really needs to fit into your branding. And the reason that is because you do not want a diluted brand by having too many products all over the place. And the advantage of that is this building block that happens when you are building products with your branding in mind. So you might start out with a small suite of brands or of products. So like, let's say like PDFs or blog posts, or maybe there's like a collection of photography that you have that has like nice sayings on it or something, some like inspirational quotes. When all of those little pieces and parts are fitted to your brand, it is easier for you to, in the future, to take all these little pieces and parts and pull them together and create something larger that then is branded automatically. And then finally, products for reach. So the nice thing about products is that you are not required to be present or physical during their distribution. So this is something where if you have a product that someone buys, and they can buy it around the world. And so again, this reach creates this environment where your brand and your reputation extends around the world. So these are the values of products. So some things that I like to have on hand always. And for this particular workshop would be your favorite office supplies or crafting materials. So what I like to have around are my colorful markers. So I've got my set of Noylands here. I have a favorite writing implement. In this case, it's a pencil. Scissors, of course. Now this, you might not need scissors for this, but maybe you do, depending on how crafty you get with this project. Various kinds of paper. So you'll definitely want an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Printing paper is just fine. If you have it in color, that's even more fun. And then also Post-it notes. So you might want to have like, you know, a pad or two of Post-it notes. They don't necessarily need to be different colors, but it is helpful. And so I'll tell you a little bit about why it is that I really enjoy and really think that this is invaluable to have these kinds of supplies at your ready, is that in the use of these products, it creates a more dimensional experience for the workshop. So instead of working on your computer or just on a piece of paper where you're just writing, what this does is it creates a three-dimensional environment that, whether or not you feel it, it is inspiring areas in your mind that aren't really necessarily inspired if you are just working on a two-dimensional space like a computer screen. So I hope that you have some colorful papers and markers with you to progress through this workshop. Okay. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is an exercise. So what I would like you to do is grab a piece of paper. Does everyone have a sheet of paper? Awesome, excellent. Okay, so now what I would like you to do is to fold the paper in half, and it's best to hold it horizontal or landscape, and fold it landscape so you have two sides that are kind of like more or less square, or more square. Okay, so now what you want to do on the left side, pick a color marker, and on the left side, write outcomes I generate. I'll give you an example here. Outcomes I generate. So you want a generous place down below this piece of paper to write your outcomes I generate. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 2 minutes or maybe 1.5 minutes. We'll see how you do, to write everything that you generate, and go back years, like get creative. Think about what you did when you were a kid. Think about things that you did in a different life. Think about things that you could possibly do for fun. Like, it doesn't really need to be anything that's like really serious. So I'm going to play, hopefully this will work. I'm going to play some music for a moment, and for 1.5 minutes, and write the things down, that outcomes that you generate. Okay, very good. How was that exercise? Good. Okay, now you can no longer hear my music, correct? Good. Okay, great. My tech is excellent today. Okay. Oh, I love your dog, Brian. Hey, doggy. So, okay, I would love to, let's see, like, what are some things that you generate? I'd love to hear what it is that each of you are coming out of your meetings and coming out of your creative brains. I can stop sharing here for a minute. So let's see. Oh, so Nevada asks, just wondering if the outcomes are all outputs, not emotional outcomes and benefits to the user. Yes, we're just kind of talking about the physical outcomes from a meeting. So it's like, it could be pile of Post-it notes. It could even be observations too, because that could kind of play into it as well. But it's more about kind of collecting all the pieces and parts that then you can create something that's physical. So, but it might be nice to note a couple things just to like kind of keep you going. But really what we're doing here is we're looking for the physical outcomes. And so let's see. Brian's got collaboration, understanding, vision, mission, purpose, individual, team, organization, charts, environmental scans. Okay, environmental scans. So, oh, templates. Yep, there we go. And I can't quite see it. Facilitation guides. And Angela, why don't you come off mute and read that to us?
Yeah, sure. That's better. For me, I went back a few years on some stuff, but written stories, greeting cards.
Can you hear? Oh, wait,
can you
barely.
Can you hear?
Oh, what about now? Is this better? Okay. My I think my microphone was behind me.
Oh.
So some of the stuff that going back a few years was like written stories, zines, but also safe spaces to chat. When it comes to like when I interview people, and educational material for more adult audience versus like kids, social media posts, graphic recordings, and also a lot of just jotted notes is a big outcome I have.
Good. That's excellent. That's excellent. Who else would like to share? Is there anything that hasn't come up? Oh, yes, please, yeah. Nancy.
So lecture notes, slide presentations, meeting notes, instructions, instructional videos, educational primers, teaching guides for using specific tools, technologies.
Okay, that's great. That's a lot of really great outcomes. That's awesome. Good. Those are really good inputs for what we're going to be doing. So that's excellent. Great. Yes. Yeah, that's perfect.
I can go. I'll add yes to a lot of the things. I also love that jotted notes is an acceptable outcome, because of course I have those too.
Yes.
To add, I do like videos, sort of course, video content for courses, cards, like various cards or different kinds I've made for clients. I mean, my own paintings, not really an outcome for a client, but kind of artwork.
Yep. No, that's good.
I was thinking recently I did these kind of award certificate things for clients, like illustrated awards with the person who won the award, and then the words around it, why they won the award. Strategy maps and game boards. Way back when I created like customized game boards. Workshop kits. I was thinking, like, I didn't think about that as an outcome, but I put together like workshop, kits and to mail to people.
Yes.
Yeah, just building on other things that people.
That's great. Oh, and you've got a ton of inputs for what we're doing today, so it'll be exciting to see what you come up with. Elizabeth or Rachel?
I would add that a lot of those are overlapping. And I would just add, PowerPoint graphic templates and structures, posters, brochures, catalog, and then art projects, murals and mosaics, collaborative projects, responsive imagery, which I'm thinking stepping forward needs to go into like cards and things like that. So I'm creating creative objects that are in response to what's going on in a place and space.
Nice.
And some of the other things that other people have said.
Okay, great. Well, that last one I would love to hear more about as we progress through this, because it would be interesting to see how that could evolve into something even more. So that's great. Rachel, I see you had a big old list there.
Yeah, a lot of stuff that was covered. Some digital artifacts, strategic plans, worksheets and connection cards, a couple illustrations, some guides, podcast, another one, and then some like kind of summaries, reports, like synthesis of projects and things like that, of themes
Okay.
and things.
Cool. Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much. I just wanted to read here that the jotted notes only recently became a real outcome for me thanks to this artist I got inspired by and obsessed with. And so if you're interested in clicking, don't miss that Instagram link if you want to check that out. And then Brian says, if anyone would like to attend the demo to a game for trainers I'm designing, please click here. So follow that too. And then of course at the end you can save the chat and find all these too, but just I want to bring your attention to it. Okay, so let's go back to me sharing my thing. Or my screen. So what we've done now is we have created a list of outcomes that you generate. So the next thing we're going to do, and a good thing to do here is to put the letter A somewhere on this piece of paper and circle it, because we're going to have a number of these and I'm going to be referring back to them. So this particular one is called A, so A with a circle, and then or a square or whatever, just so you know what it is. Okay, so now part 2 is on the right side of this paper. On the right side, you're going to write 2 things. On the top, it's going to say what I can make. And then somewhere in the middle, what I can make with help. So here, just to save space, I said, what can I make? And I went ... with help. So you have sort of 2 sections here that you are going to fill out. And I'm going to give you a couple more minutes, another minute or something to fill this out. So what we want here is we want you to write ideas for what you might make from these outcomes. So, and be able to differentiate between what you can make on your own, which means like from your office supplies with minimal money, with a volunteer, like if you have a partner, something that can help you, like something like that's really easy for you, really sort of cheap and easy and doesn't require a lot of resources. And then also below the with the help line is like, what are the big things? Like what's something that's really meaty, or a number of things that are really meaty that either you don't have, like you need to, hire a publisher to write a book, or you want to do stickers and you've got to like spend a bunch of money, with a website to get those made. So like, kind of like fill in these 2 areas of something that like you could maybe print off in a day, or something that, you would need some lead time and some help with. So I'll give you a few minutes or just a minute to fill that in, and I'll go ahead and play some more View Fracatore since you liked him. Okay, how's that going? Oh, what can I make? Let's see. So what I'm going to do is unshare here so we can see big. Okay, so Brian, read out what you got there. I love your display.
Sure, thanks. So modality guides, which is to say, like I was thinking kind of quick, maybe 2 or 3 pages just on any given modality. I tend to find myself inventing a lot of facilitation activities, games, book reports. Sarah, you and I are working on a book report right now, a report book, you could say, and then trainings and videos. I realized what I really need help with is that I feel like I can make this stuff. Where I need the help is in the promotion, the marketing, the PR, like getting it out there. And then to a lesser extent, distribution, but Amazon has made that really easy.
That's great. Well, and that's a really great realization that you are capable of making a lot of things, and really what you need help with is getting them out the door. So that's really good observations. Would someone else like to share? Sure, Angela.
So for what I can make on my own, I kind of realized that a lot of the outcomes I've generated have been on what can I do on a low budget, and I realized that that's what I actually made a lot of my outcomes based off of. So things like graphic recordings I can do on my own, downloadable and printable greeting cards like on Etsy I can make on my own, social media posts, illustrations, fine art, etc. What I really need help with is, for me, I like having a support system. With the two things that I realized were, if I'm doing a graphic recording in a meeting, having somebody else to help facilitate. So having a partner in crime really to really get that meeting going and make it a good place to be. And then also just massive projects. They're hard to do on your own when you're by yourself. So like really big, like multi-month projects, it's nice to have somebody there with you.
Yes, that is true. That is true. Did anyone have trouble in this brainstorming area? Like, what can I make from the things that I generate? Is there, can we help source for you, or does everyone feel like, raise your hand if you would like a little help generating some ideas? We all feel pretty good.
What was coming up for me, Sarah, was kind of like what I can make and what I want to be making, or what I should be making. Maybe that's where we're going, but that's kind of what I was like, well, yeah, I can do all this stuff, but I don't really want to be doing that.
That's good. And that's true. So the thing is that something that you can make and that you should make might be the difference between like a branding question. So like, sure, you can make paper airplanes, but like, does that really like add value to your brand? So that's a really good point. And we'll be getting into that a little bit as we move into this. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again. And the next part of this is now what we want to do is we want to refer like, so we're going to refer to the product value slide, which is next. And we've already seen this. This is the 6 graphics that are the product value slides. So you're going to assign marks to these products that you can make or that you need help making. You're going to assign monetary. So does it take money or a lot of money? Does it increase your reputation? Does it support your reputation? Does it require a partner? Does it build awareness? So again, this is something that can be very simple. Like it doesn't need to be, this can be like a real quick and dirty down thing that you distribute on email or something, but does it create awareness? Does it fit into your brand? And then does it have reach? Like how far around the world can this go? So what we're going to do, I'm going to go to the next slide. And so next to your word, so if your word is, workbooks, for instance, assign 1 to 6, any number of these. So if all 6 apply, draw the $sign, an R, a P, an A, a B, and an arrow. If nothing applies, then don't force it. That's an indicator to you that maybe this is a product that maybe isn't for you. So I'll give you another minute to just go through and assign these symbols and letters to the things you can make and the things that you need help with. So like this, and again, so focus on the things. So I've noticed that there were, in some cases, there were sort of like activities that kind of creeped in there, but focus on the actual physical things that you can make from this. So assign these to it, and I'll put on somebody. I'll put on.
So Sarah?
Yes. Oh, and that's a good question. Do you have questions?
With respect to the cold hard cash, is it that it will take money to do it or it will make money?
No, we're just talking about what it takes to do it. So the making, so oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I apologize. It is about making money.
Making
So
money.
this thing is about making money. Now, it might not be much, or it might be a lot, and not everything is going to generate money either. So you also want to keep in mind products that you create just for reputation and awareness, or reputation, awareness, and reach, because those are really important products too. So I would say that you need to have on this list somewhere some things that really aren't necessarily about money, but support these other, all of these 6 areas, or, you know, at least one of these areas. And the more that you can get one product to have areas, like larger number of areas of value, the better. So that means that, you know, if you have all 6 of these, that means that this product, maybe what you do is you spend a little bit more money on it, because it will garner all of these things for you. So that's kind of a way to create like a value proposition for this particular product that you are considering making. All right. Okay. So you may want to take a screenshot of this screen, and then you'll have this for future reference. But then also, if you want to continue working on this to figure out where the value, the areas of value are in your products that you're working on, you'll have reference to it. So we are going to move on to the next slide, and I am going to, I'm just going to introduce the business model canvas. Is everybody familiar with the business model canvas? Alex Osterwalder's business model canvas. Okay, is anyone not familiar with it? Okay, so we'll just quickly just say that it describes the rationale of how you create and deliver a value in a product. It is your initial step to think through and validate your idea. And this step can expose problems early on, so you don't waste resources. And your resources are time, money, and people. And finally, it answers these questions. Is there a need for your product? What problems do your products solve? What is the product's value? And what makes it different? So that's what the business model canvas does. And so by the creative business model canvas, I've blown this up and literally pulled it apart. And this is what we're doing right now, is creating the business model canvas in a more creative fashion for our purposes. All right, so the 2 areas that are really important here on the regular business model canvas is the customer segments and the value proposition. So the business model canvas as a tool is used for finding new business. And so since we're using this to develop products for upselling to our current clients, we're going to change this customer segments into what are your customers? So if you are the customer, and then which is you as your brand, and then your current and prospective customers are the customers. So we're going to ask, so now that we know who these people are, you have them already, they're people that you're working with, or maybe you're proposing to, or yourself as well. The question to ask in this area is, what are your customers doing? So what are your customers doing? What are they asking you to do to come in and help them do and so what are they doing? Are they team building? Are they creating strategy? Are they just having fun? Like I just did a 2-day workshop the other day, and it was literally just fun and games. Or are you doing culture work? Like, so what is it that you're doing? So take a moment to think about that. And what you're going to do is take another piece of paper. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to bend it. And this is going to be B, worksheet B. And on the left, you are going to write what my customers are doing. And then underneath that, you are going to write the various things that they do. And this shouldn't be, I don't think this is going to be a very long list for you. So I don't think I need to give you a lot of time here. If you want to add to this, you surely can. But really, like, what is it that your customers are doing? And number them too. So you've got, like, you know, right here, I've got the example of like 1, team building, 2, strategy, 3, having fun, 4, culture work. Give you 30 seconds to fill that in. and then we're gonna do something with that. Okay. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because I don't want to overwhelm the rest of the process. So really what was top of mind is great. Just, you can keep building, you can keep working these tools to continue to consider other things to do, but let's just kind of like work on the top few. So number them, 1 to whatever. And then on the right side, you are going to write on the top, what can I make to increase the value of these activities? So that is where worksheet A comes into play, which is what can I make and what do I need help making? So you can refer to worksheet A in filling out the right side of worksheet B. So look at the left side, and when you see, like, for instance, in this case, team building, what are some things that I can use or I can make to help my customers have a better team building experience, or create better strategy, or like understand their culture better, or build culture better. And the product value marks that I had you write next to the what can I make or what do I need help with making, keep those in mind when you are writing these down, because if you have something like, for instance, like templates, like you can create templates and you can make them very simply in your office with office supplies that you have already. And you can sell those for money. They create reach, they create awareness and build your reputation. So if you have products that have a lot of product value markers behind it, consider how those things can be used for the various things your customers are doing. So you can kind of like pull from that. Okay. All right, so you should have a pretty good list of things that you can make to increase the value of these activities. And the next piece of this is to now assign, or the next piece of this is to kind of we're now going to consider our barriers to entry. So set that aside for just a moment. We're going to talk about real quickly, like the resources, the people, time, and money that get in the way or we need in order to create these. So there are 7 areas in new product development, and you will touch on these ever so slightly in some way or form, and it might not even be really obvious. Like, for instance, like research and development might be a 10-minute Google search, and there's your research and development. So the 7 areas are research and development, design, marketing, sales, manufacturing, distribution, and warehousing. So these are all things to consider when creating a product, because what you don't want to have happen, which is what happened to me many years ago, is I started a greeting card company and I designed the cards, I tested the cards, everybody loved them, and I went and got 200,000 cards printed and had nowhere to put them. So I ended up taking over an entire room of my house and had to like kick people out of that room in order to store all these cards, because it didn't really occur to me that maybe there was a better way or a different way or a more economical way to create and distribute cards without warehousing all of them. So while I saved money printing bulk, I lost money because I lost an area in my house to for living. And then also what happened too is I couldn't pivot. So as the seasons changed, I couldn't easily make new cards to sell. So what I would do differently in the future if I were a card designer is that I would do print on demand cards. And that was something that I learned from my experience in the card business. So these areas in new product development are good to keep in mind when considering which projects to pull forward and create into products. So there's a little chart about the some economic barriers. There's low, there's medium, and there's high. And what I mean by low economic barrier is something, again, like you can create it in your office. It doesn't cost a lot. Maybe it's just some printer ink and paper. Maybe it's something that you can even cut out yourself if it's that quantity isn't too high. All it requires is a computer, some knowledge, and then maybe a publishing website like medium.com or something else like Amazon or something. A medium economic barrier is something that requires more time, more people, and more money, quite possibly more money. And this could be something like podcasts, it could be games where you need to actually have things printed. It could be worksheets that you end up maybe you need help creating those, and print on demand books. And then high economic barriers are products that you would order a lot of. So like say you created a game, a card game, and the best price point would be to order like 100 of them, and they're like $10 a piece. So you feel confident that you will sell those. So it is worth investing in the high economic barrier. Another high economic barrier, and probably one of the most costly, are hiring people to do work for you. So that's graphic designers, that would be computer programmers or other people, writers, or anybody who would charge for their services. And at our level, it could be $100, give or take, per hour. So, the human resource can really impact the high economic barrier. So now you have worksheet B. And B as what my customers are doing and what can I make to increase the value of their activities. Now, looking at the list on your left of the customer activities, they should be numbered. Assign the corresponding numbers to the products on the right. So for instance, if you think games would be helpful, in which of those areas of what your customers are doing might you have games? Right? So I think that team building is a perfect game place for games to be. Having fun, so that would be like activities that a team would do just to build their culture. So like having fun would be a good game. And then any sort of like culture work and learning culture work would be maybe a good place to have a game. So I'll give you a couple minutes actually to do this. And what I'll do is I will not play a song just in case it gets a little too much for you to kind of think going back and forth. So go ahead and write the corresponding number from what your customers are doing onto the products that you could make that would add value to those activities. We're good? Okay. Well, and you can continue to do this. Oh, that was hard, Angela. Why was that hard, Angela?
So I guess I'm finding it's interesting that some of the products I enjoy making don't always come from a place of what can I do to help customers. For example, greeting cards are kind of a personal project for myself. And I've also had the same warehouse problems, by the way. So I enjoyed hearing that. And so kind of like, what are my customers actually looking for? And what do I make that is really specific to their needs? It's just a better way to look at it that I haven't viewed it at before. So I'm very happy, but it's also kind of hard and a little bit, like tough love truth. And I like that.
Okay.
But it hurts a little.
How about anyone else? Does anyone else find that was interesting or enlightening or inspiring, or does it bring anything up for you?
Probably what comes up for me is this challenge that I have in general is that my customers, that I have multiple customers and multiple kind of customer personas, from the team leader to other facilitators to, the person who's in charge of the meeting. So it's like that wide customer base and kind of, as usual, trying to figure out where to focus. Right? Like, who do I actually want to serve?
Yes.
A continuous question. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. Brian, did anything come up for you? Or, oh, I'm sorry, who was speaking? I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that, it's interesting to see that basically I have my 5 activities that I'm targeting that customers would be doing. And I'll just say up front that I have like very few customers at the moment with everything going on. So I'm just envisioning these customer groups.
Okay.
And I have the activities that I am interested in pursuing and or have kind of started in some capacity, for the most part, serve all 5, which is great.
Good.
You know, so it's like, okay, there's like, I guess you could, I don't know if it's completely effective branding between all 5, because they may not all do the same thing for me. But it's just, so it's like, okay, it's the now what kind of thing. It's like, and I know it's the doing of and the marketing of, and you know, it's the whole. And and I will echo what Angela said earlier about, you know, needing that team approach to some of this stuff, like needing that partner, if only in the, you know, the brainstorming, problem solving through the process kind of thing.
Nice. Okay, well, thank you so much. All right, so the next thing we're going to do with this handy dandy worksheet is now we are going to assign, now you have the how your products could connect to what it is that your client's doing. And the next thing we're going to do is sort of like indicate what your barriers to entry are. So I will share my screen again. And as a reminder, we've got the low economic barrier, which is a $1 sign, the medium economic barrier, which is the $2 sign, and the high economic barrier, which is a $3 sign. And low is something that's quick, easy, not expensive. Medium is something that requires a little bit more money and a little bit more people, and maybe a little more time. And then high economic barrier is something that you really have to like get into. Like if you're writing a book, that is a lot of like energy and time, and it might cost money and that sort of thing. So this is subjective. So depending on where you are at in, you know, your business and establishing clientele and your comfort with technology and all these sorts of things, indicate for yourself what is the $1, $2, $3 as it is related to what you can make to increase the value of these activities. And if you look here, if you have any room to the left of your products, so games, photography, posters, whatever, assign a dollar mark to what you feel, like how you feel, like how quickly could you get this out the door? How easy would it be for you, or how difficult would it be for you? And assign a dollar sign based on that feeling, like how you feel, like how close you are to actually launching these one of these things for your clients. Okay, so what is one easy, low barrier to entry that maybe has a lot of bearing on what your customers are doing? Like what is like one thing that you have listed that would be a real quick and easy thing that you could deliver for your customers from this list that you have? I see, Brian, I see a dollar sign next to templates, and it's pretty much on every single one of them.
Well, I thought it was like $1 sign is easy and $3 signs was hard. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, hard and expensive and takes a while, and you know, not something that you can just easily get out in a week.
Yeah, I'll tell you the big insight that I had, and I'm kind of kicking myself that I haven't thought of it earlier, is to come up with participant packets. This is something that I've seen. I have a colleague of mine that does this every single time. She'll have this nice, neat folder that's branded with, you know, her logo on it. And inside it is her contact information and the agenda and the handouts and the templates that we're going to use. And I have a tendency just to like pass stuff out in the moment, like when we do it, you know, it's like, okay, we're going to do this thing called the graphic game plan. So, you know, I pass it out. I really like the idea of just having everything in a packet that then participants can take with them. That would be easy to do, and I can bill for it. You know, that's something that I can charge my clients for.
Yep. Yep, you sure can. And this is, and I'm really glad that you said that, Brian, because that's really the point of this, right? It's the upsell. So what we're doing is we're selling to current clients. We're selling to our current clients. Like, so if you already have them hooked in, they already love you, they're already juiced up for how awesome you are. What else can you give them that you can upsell to them? Because they're already sold on you. And I've found that, I mean, I don't know, maybe all the time, like a lot of the times, that if I just give them options for juicy new things, that they will sign up for them. And so you can either propose something. So if you have a proposal for a workshop and you can say add-ons or this, and this, and this, you can do it that way. Or at the end of the workshop, you can wait and cook them with some juicy tidbits. It's like, oh, hey, we're going to take all of these outcomes from this, and we're going to create a book that's an interactive book that you can use for showing board members and investors and other people who were in it. They can use it to like this book to stay connected. So you have kind of this thing where it's like the before the meeting or before in the proposal, and then also during the meeting, like you said, Brian, you've got like these things that you can sell like part of it. Just you make your workshop like just more expensive because you're delivering more. And then you have the third thing, which is like hitting with something really rad at the end. So does anybody else have anything that's like a low barrier to entry that applies to a lot of things that you might be able to be selling right away?
Well, it's kind of interesting to think about because a lot of the stuff that I wrote down is kind of analog. I mean, so a PDF of something would be like a low barrier to entry thing, which is a digital product. But I'm kind of, it's like my brain tends to go like where Brian's did to like something you would give out at a in-person workshop. Like I'm thinking of a kit that was like it could be it's a team building activity, but it has templates, it has the pens, it's like the whole kit that they buy, and essentially they could even do it themselves potentially.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'd want to get into that business particularly, but I think it would be a fun product. Do you know what I mean? But then the other stuff, it's also like, well, are people going to be meeting in person? Like people are still generally hybrid and like looking at being remote / hybrid for the next year. So I've just noticed my brain goes to analog because I've done a lot of that. But it's like, I guess there could be something in a mural. You could sell a mural template.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. And, you could even sell them depending on what the company is. Like what I find is that people, we're doing a lot of Zoom. There's a lot of Zoom fatigue, and to get folks to kind of like work off their computer with colorful tools and things makes the meeting more interesting. So to sell your client on, oh, hey, we're going to do this hybrid. We have kits for everybody at the meeting, but then we're also going to mail kits that are fun. It's like colorful markers and some paper and, some things that like get people creative. And then you can sell those kits as like a kit that gets mailed to their employees who can't, or the participants who can't be there in person. And the sales pitch on that is that it makes people feel more included. So it's a gift, right? So like if a company feels that the person is valuable enough to buy a $10 box of goodies that they receive in the mail that they can use while they're dialing in to a live meeting, then that creates a sense of inclusion that can help people feel less disconnected in a virtual world.
Yeah, I really like where you're going with that. It makes me think that actually the product you could be selling is actually the workshop and the kit together as a bundle, right? Not just the kit. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And then, and afterwards, you've got all kinds of content that you can then create into something like maybe the outcomes of a particular meeting spur your creativity, and you create new worksheets based on the outcomes. So like, this is what they learned. Okay, so how are we going to take what they learned and build on what they learned? Well, we've got we created a whole workbook based on the content that we created in the first meeting. And this workbook is, it's digital, it's printed, it's printed, physical, it's digital, it's physical, and you get like a notebook, and then maybe they get a folder. Just like getting the participants to work with their hands and craft, like be more physically involved in the meeting is going to be, in my experience, has been a really great selling point. It gets exciting. It makes it more exciting.
Yeah, cool.
So great. Okay, let's see where we're at. I will share my screen again. And we are here. Okay, so now back to looking at the business model canvas. So this is the proven canvas that has been used for many years. And this is the basis for the work that we're doing today and the basis for the creative model canvas. The thing about the business model canvas is it seems like it's kind of in a weird order. Like, I don't really understand the order, like why it's ordered in the way it is, because the first thing you need to do is to determine who your customer segment is. And that is in the way far right. It's in the upper corner. Like, why is it there? Like, why isn't it more organized? But since this business model canvas is created, I'm just going to use this as an example and then run through it in relation to what it is that we're doing today. So the customer segments, we know what they are. Those are our current customers and our potential customers. And the question then becomes, what are your customers doing that they need your help and facilitation? So what are they doing? So that is what you got on side 1 of worksheet B, which is, what are my customers doing? That's here. The next thing is what we worked on. What can you make to increase the value of these activities? And so this is where you came up with like all the things that you could create, and then you assigned the numbers. So it's like, okay, if team building and strategy are great for games, then you're going to put those numbers beyond the word games, and then you assigned it a value, so a barrier to entry value. So now you have this reference here. So that's kind of the second thing we needed to determine. So what we're going to do now is another exercise, and we're going to kind of talk about like what's expected. So take a third piece of paper, and you're not going to fold it this time. It's just going to be flat. And on the top, you're going to write what, and you can, again, put a C with a circle or something. So, this is like workshop C or worksheet C. And this one at the top is going to say, what is expected? And then kind of in the middle, you are going to say, what could be surprising? And the reason what you're doing is you're looking for a space that you can put Post-it notes under what is expected and Post-it notes under what could be surprising. So you can maybe measure it, write the what is expected, put a blank Post-it note, and then write what could be surprising. Okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take these things like, what can I make to increase the value of my activities? Or wait a minute, I'm sorry. So you're going to go to back to A, to worksheet A, where it's like the outcomes I generate. So again, this is like graphic recordings, blog posts, meeting outcomes, illustrations, piles of Post-it notes, these sorts of things. So what is expected means what is expected from your client. So your client's like, oh yeah, well, I expect there to be a graphic recording at the end of this meeting. I expect there to be some meeting outcomes. If you're doing personal work, you're like, I expect there to be a blog post or maybe an illustration. So on one Post-it note, and it can be any size. And this, if you just keep going, it could go off the table, but basically this is like kind of the exercise, is that the top Post-it note is like what's expected, either from you as a client, or from your customer as someone who provides it. And then put a Post-it note below it that is what could be surprising about these outcomes. Like how can you push it a little bit further? What can you do to add more value to it? Keeping in mind also that there could be a couple things. So like, say for instance, you have an outcome document that is just something where you throw together all your stuff, you staple it, and you deliver it to them, and that's what the customer expected. Well, what can you create from that outcome document that would add value to the experience of what was in that outcome document? So could you make a video? Could you create a book? Could you develop a whole new workshop that you can sell to your clients? So what could be surprising is going to be the things that you're upselling to your customer. All right, so was anything surprising? Did anything new come up through running through this this filter of what's expected and what could be surprising?
So I thought of something that I actually do for one workshop, but I've never done for any other workshop, which is I have a laminated card that this is a project management course I teach, and it's got the theoretical model on one side and then the key takeaways on the back. But it's a laminated card, and my students tell me that they take it with them, they post it on their desk, they've got it right in front of them. So little laminated takeaways, it occurred to me, would be a great add-on.
That's great. That's
Anyway,
beautiful.
and I hadn't thought of it as something that
Good.
would be relevant here.
That's surprising.
Yeah, it was very
Wonderful.
surprising.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
I hadn't thought of it, but I love this exercise so much. And it's like, there's something sort of sweet about just adding something special. Like, it doesn't feel like an upsell. It feels like what would actually be surprising and wonderful for the customer.
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking for the Enneagram team workshops that I teach, doing some cards that actually had, kind of reference cards for each type. Probably something like that exists, but that would be handy. You could just pick it up off your desk, look at, oh yeah, what about that type? Do I need to remember? Communication tips, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nancy just made me remember I have this one principal poster that was so popular that I turned it into a postcard, which was something that you can say when you weren't your best self. And I realized I can make a bunch of these things, right? I've got about 30 different principal posters that are out there, and I can just, turn them into a postcard and, give those to my participants.
Those are so great, Brian. They're also like hand up. You could hold them up in the meetings as little.
Yeah, you're giving me ideas. I'm gonna hold back for a minute just to see what else is going on, because I'll add some my thoughts that I had about what you're presenting.
I think what I am struggling with or trying to work through is when part of me, part of my thing is to bring the 3D processes and forms and objects into this kind of, it's not a 2D world, but it's more a world of the mind, where the thinking and talking is the main activity in a way. Although some of them may involve actually making something in the process, but it's like as an upsell or as an extra thing, like I can make cups that come from a brainstorming session with words from the brainstorming session and things like that. But I can also, that's more expensive. And that's time I have to go and do it. I also could design as kind of like what Brian was saying with, postcard idea, where it's okay, here's a paper cup with all the information written on it, and it's like a unfolded paper cup. And you could cut it out and actually make the physical cup yourself, kind of thing, right? Neat. So it could be a postcard with the cut on the dotted line, and nobody ever does. They stick it on their wall or whatever. But it's taking the objects that I make back into kind of the the world of paper products, which is this potentially more of this audience,
Yes.
perhaps.
Yes. Well, and and creating something that you can send as a PDF that people print out and cut up. So like, so if like, for instance, you had a game where you're like a paper cup, you can make a paper cup out of a piece of paper. So you've got the design, you send the PDF, they print it out, they cut it up and they put water in it. And you have a little like, tag. It's like, drink your favorite cocktail out of the paper cup, and they could take a photograph of it and tag it somewhere.
Hmm.
So this can have like a lot of really interesting reach. You can get them creative and cutting, and people, there are some people who they don't even barely need the invitation to craft. And if you give them something that they can cut up and fold up, and especially things like that, like origami, where it's like, oh, does that really work? It's like, okay, let's see how that, I'm like, oh, that's really fun. Oh, I messed up, I'll do it again. And so this is, this is what something I want to say about like everything that you're doing has reach beyond that. So, Nancy, that card that you have that's laminated, you could take that card and all of that content on there and create a little like a zine. So you could make it into something that's like, a drawing, and then, you could do make it into a game where it's like, can you name the blah blah of the blah blah, and like maybe you got the answers on the last page or something, but like maybe it's all black and white and it's a coloring book. And Brian, like your posters, like maybe you saw them just as coloring sheets. It's like, oh, color this in. So thinking about not only the work that you are creating, but then like, okay, what else can you do with that content? So you've got this really great content. You could make a poster, you could make a coloring sheet, you could make a laminated piece, you could do a little book, you could do a booklet, you could do a cutout, all of these things. Like you've got this content, and there are 10 things that you could do with it that all add value, that maybe doesn't take a lot of energy. Or if you're like, okay, I'm ready to like, bite the bullet and spend some money, I'm going to sell my customers on this like really great like culture quote that came out of our meeting, and I'm going to have them buy 50 cups to give, or mugs or whatever, to give to the participants. So, just keep on thinking of like, what else can I do with this? What else can I, like, if they love that, and if they're sticking, Nancy, if they're sticking that on their walls or whatever, or like on their computer, like how else could, like, maybe you could make like a well, do people even use mouse pads anymore? But like what else could you do that would create a product that would use that same content? So that sounds like it's resonating? You guys are coming up with some really great ideas. Okay. So, all right. So now that you have that, I will go back to sharing my screen again. Okay. All right. So now we have this, what is expected and what could be surprising. And you could keep going like, what's even more surprising and more surprising and more surprising. So like, how can you take like the one thing, the photos, the outcome doc, whatever it is that you make, and create levels of things that are all related, and just don't take a lot of your brain energy. It's just a matter of going, oh, well, we'll put it on a mug, we'll put it on a laminated sheet, we'll do something like that. So that's what's good about this particular exercise. So, okay, so that was C, what do they expect and what might surprise them? The fourth part of this is the channels. So this is real easy because, again, these are your customers or potential customers. Are you reaching them? Are you talking to them in person at a meeting? So at the end of the meeting, do you go, hey, we got all this really great stuff. Look at this book you can make. Or, you know what? We had some really amazing highlights that came out of that. Why don't we create posters, and then you can hang those in your offices. Like, so think about like when it is that you are going to do the upsell to your clients. Is it before, during, or after? Now, the kind of other half to the business model canvas is kind of like the behind the scenes, the engine of what's going on. So your key partners, again, so you've got what partners and suppliers will you need to help deliver the product. So that comes in handy when you have the $3 signs and you're like, okay, I need to get like, so if it's something if you have determined something is a $3 sign value, then you really, really need to think about everything that goes into that. And so take special care and time to consider all of the things. So if it's an app, you're not just hiring a developer, you're hiring maybe a developer and an SEO expert who will update your website. So people, when they do searches for this, so there's all of these spidering things that go out when you start talking about needing partners and suppliers. The next thing is the key activities. So what do you need to do to deliver this product? So this is where the strategy comes in to developing your product. So like, you know, you've got your, you know, who your customers are, you know what the products are, you know how you're going to make it surprising for them, for your customers, you know when you're going to sell it to them, before, during, after. You know who's going to be helping you, and then what else do you need to deliver this product? So you kind of have to think about like, what are you doing? You know, do you need a lot of time? Do you need to schedule this around the holidays? Like, so what is it that you're going to need to do in your activities to get this delivered? And then the resources are, of course, like, you know, what do you need to deliver this product? So do you need a pad of paper? Do you need a, you know, do you need to upload something to a printing company so you can get things printed? Those things are things to consider. So that's the barriers to entry. And we reviewed this. This was the low, medium, and high, the $1, $2, $3 sign. And you did this exercise where you drew the letters or the dollar signs next to the products that you can create. And then the final thing is the revenue streams. So when we talk about revenue streams, we come back to this graphic of these 6 areas. So revenue does not necessarily need money. It is, again, reputation, it's partnerships, it's awareness, it's branding, and it's reach. So when you think of products and creating products for yourself or for other people or for customers of yours, you want to get your biggest bang for the buck. So you really consider, when you are prioritizing creating products, what is it that you most need? Do you really mostly need money? Because again, like that's, you kind of have to like spend money to make money. So you kind of have to like determine if spending money is worth making money, or if, you know, making money is just upselling to your customer. So you hit them at the beginning with like, hey, I can add all of these like wonderful workshop kits that we can send to not only the people on site, but then also the people who are remote, and it will help them engage with and feel included in the meeting. So selling those things up front. Selling things during the meeting would be more like selling them by surprising them with little things, like maybe it's you break out the crafting supplies, and one of the workshops that you do, you actually build something that they kind of take with them, or that they create a skit that they use it in. So kind of like selling them into this idea of being creative. And then at the end, selling your clients on like, hey, all these outcomes came in, let's create a book, let's create a video, let's create something that's going to live beyond just beyond the day. And then, so that's all the money stuff. And then, you know, it's the reputation, like your reputation, the partnerships, the awareness around your brand, and the reach you have around the world is all going to improve with the production of products from the things that you make. So thank you so much for joining me today. And I really enjoy, I see we're finishing a little bit early. I wasn't sure how much time we would need. We had a small group, so we finished a little bit early, which is good. And what I would love to do is to, do you have any last words? Would you like to share with me anything that you felt about the workshop, or any inspiration that you have going forward? Like, what's the first thing you're going to work on? The first product you're going to work on when you get off this call?
Well, I think you left us with a really great question, which is, what do you most need? And I think for me that needs a little consideration, right? Like, okay, what do I need the most? Do I need more awareness? Do I need more reputation? You know what I mean? I think that's question is going to work me a little bit before I'm like, yes, I'm going to make that product. So I think that's a great final question.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I would say I'm in a similar boat that Nevada as you, in that I need all of these things, but I think that and some of this stuff is in process. I'm developing a workshop with someone, so I already have a partner for a workshop, so forth and so on. But I do think there's that. I think for me it may come back to branding in a way. It's like, really, what's my story? What's the overall story? There's lots of ways it can appear, but that is probably for me the thing that I need to focus on the most. So I appreciate the time here. It's great.
Oh, wonderful, Elizabeth. Thank you for sharing.
So can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. I think for me, what this has really done is it does something that I have a very hard time with, but it's forcing me to make decisions rather than just kind of being like a bit scattered with what I want to do. And by targeting really what can I do that actually helps other people, really starts crossing things off the list that I might want to do for fun, but I realize aren't actually going to achieve any goal besides make me smile. And although those things are good, it makes me kind of wonder what I should do next. This might be for after, but I'd love to hear some advice about one of the expected and surprises that I was really struggling with. So we can do that after, though.
Sure. Yep. So once we wrap up, we can do after hours here for a little bit, since we have time. So in the chat, I have dropped the business model canvas, which is the typical one, but I added the word creative. And so what I've done is it's a PDF with fillable forms, and the questions that you saw earlier are all in there, so you can kind of use that as a guide. So choose a product and run it through this business model canvas and see what you come up with. And you can do one business model canvas for each product and like kind of, run through it and see kind of like where you land. And what is going to happen is you're going to get, as you work through this, you will get excited about some things. And so the ones that you really have a lot of energy for, you're like, oh my God, that's so great. I can like do these things and I can make it better and more surprising. So these are the things that like, oh, maybe this is something that you have energy for and you can focus on. And then the other thing to consider too is and especially if you're new to product development, is to start with something that is a low economic barrier. So start with things that are the $1 sign that can apply to a lot of things, that like maybe is something you can like whip out on the weekend and test. And one of the nice things about products is that you can, and especially when you design them in such a way where you're not like producing a lot of them, you can test them. So, test it out with a client. And then if it does, some part of it works, part of it doesn't, back off on the part that doesn't, and then add, get some inspiration and add to the things that do work. So use that business model canvas for each of the products that you will consider making. And then finally, if you wouldn't mind, I know you've shared with me and I really love that. And I really appreciate you sharing with the group. I have included in the chat a link to a real quick survey that will help me understand like how I did, and I get better with feedback. So if you wouldn't mind clicking on that before we close, then you won't lose that link. And then other than that, what do you have here, Brian? Docs, Google, is that the form again? Oh, the survey. Okay, thank you for reposting that.
And thank you, Sarah. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Everybody, Big Nova Scribes, thank you to Sarah Spencer. Yay!
Thank you.